Hello, everyone. Hello, Georgetown. It is Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
And you know what that means?
You got the memo on wearing khaki shorts.
Khaki shorts. And also, I need to remember to wheel my garbage cart out because it's Wednesday. Anything else? Anything else on Wednesdays that we do?
I think we do this.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So where shall we start, Mark?
Why don't we start with the offering?
Yes, let's start with the offering. So we are wrapping up our Feeding America truck initiative. And where do we stand with that?
Buy a truck, feed families. As of last night, we had purchased 7 trucks. You may know that those trucks are valued at $600 a load. And so we're celebrating that you've engaged that. Some of your faith family groups have been doing that together. So thank you for pooling resources. I'm not going to say turning it into a competition, but you've certainly engaged each other around doing some fundraising. So thank you for that. That officially comes to a conclusion today. Of course, anything in the mail or whatever that you've sent in that you'd like to apply to that will certainly continue to go for that. Please also know that the next Feeding America distribution is this coming Tuesday night or next Tuesday. And the truck arrives at 5:30 for a 6 o'clock distribution. And my end of the week will include a link where you can sign up to volunteer.
So that brings us to our next initiative. And we had some real tension around this. We talked about it in staff meeting quite a bit, but we do want to bring a matter to your attention. There is a young pastor in Guatemala. His name is Mike Perez. And basically 7 years ago, he had basically a brain surgery. There's been some complications with that, and he needed more work done. He's a ministry partner of Kirk and some of our friends in Guatemala and is doing good work of ministry down there. This procedure that he needed was to run about $6,700. They've gotten many more donations, but they have about $2,500 left to help him with this procedure. And I think what we're going to do is think about this on a 1 week basis. If you have some ability, some capacity to help with this, if you have a heart for ministry in Guatemala, this would be an extraordinary blessing to this young man. I'll post some details on our website, but you can see him and his wife there. If you have some capacity to give this week, think about that. And then next Wednesday, we'll move on and we'll talk about something else. But this would be an amazing thing to be able to do.
Well, and we'll give you some printed material, or at least through email, another PDF that gives you some of the breakdown of the story and the explanation.
Yep.
And I want to be clear about Eric's initial point about we've had some tension around it. Just to be very clear, the tension has been around we know that there are multiple needs. We know that our missionaries have expressed some yearning, some scarcity in their context. A couple weeks ago, we did Feeding Guatemala, and the tension or the question was around, do we offer up to you another Guatemala specific opportunity? So that was the tension. We don't want to overfish the Guatemala pond.
Right.
But we also have said we want to put things in the queue that are timely. And when we are aware of a need, we talk about them as a staff. We talk about them with the deacons. And then we lift something up for you for the week or 2 weeks. So that's why Eric comes with some hesitation, not reluctance, but to say this rose to the level of need, but we also don't want to do too many Guatemala things or too many of one species of thing. So that was our point of questioning and tension.
There's no question this is a high impact opportunity. And for that reason, we're sharing it with you. And you'll see more information in text-based resources on that.
We also want to, again, express Christian sympathy and condolences to the Frickson family and the loss of Ruth. There is a very limited visitation that's offered tomorrow from 10 to 12 at Vanderlaan. I want to be very clear that the funeral home is still operating with some pretty firm guidelines, but they're willing to even farm some family members outside while some family and friends, other family and friends come inside. So it's not going to be your typical funeral visitation, but since the funeral home allowed for the scheduling of it, Rich has said close family, friends from church would mean a lot if they could come. So just know that it's going to be a modified visitation tomorrow, 10 to 12 at Vanderlaan. Also, we want to express Christian sympathy to the Vanderhook family. Jack was our oldest living member. He did die as a result of COVID-19, but the family are celebrating his life today as we do a private service with them in a local cemetery. Eric, you and I did not script this part because we said there is so much that we could say about the work of our task force. I'm going to buy you a little time for you to speak to some of it, but I'll start by saying our task force meets weekly.
This is the task force related to matters of reopening.
Yeah, thank you. Regathering and reopening. Thank you for that. That task force meets every Monday. The people who are on that task force include myself, Eric, Jim Roskam, Katie Yankee, Karen Karsten, and Jen Dykhouse. We're meeting virtually. We are pulling together as much information as we can. We are pulling together some other churches' restart or regather plans. We are learning a lot. We are following the things from the U of M and the local health department in terms of Ottawa County. You may not know this, but right now, if you look at a map of the state, the data this morning from U of M is that Ottawa County, Kent County, Muskegon, that region is the hottest in the state right now for COVID-19. And we are deemed at a medium to high risk area. So as one of our task force members said, as I look around, as I talk to people are so done with COVID-19, but COVID-19 isn't done with us. And so our team is meeting weekly. We are lifting heavy loads. We are looking at multiple issues, and just know that we are trying to ready ourselves to get a report, a summary with recommendations into the elders' hands. We're hoping by mid to end of next week.
Yep. And the elders have been activated on this. They're very plugged in, and there's been exchange between the task force and the elders. And we're just taking this journey together. We do want to take it with some diligence. We want to be able to do our research and make wise and well-rationed decisions. And also, while we're doing this, we're upholding some important priorities,
Values.
values.
Yeah.
We want to, again, affirm a lot of the efforts that the worship and the technology teams are doing around the video. The video right now is still our most inclusive and open-armed way to allow people to worship with us. Regardless of any vulnerabilities or capacities, you can still worship in that way. And moving forward, that's still going to be a key value for us to have access online streaming for what we do here. So regardless of what we do moving forward, we want to be sure that people can continue to access that. And that is going to take some ramping up of capacities here.
Well, I'm glad you said it, and I'm glad you said it that way, because some of what may drive the timing, and we want to be clear that the task force is not determining the timing. We're making recommendations of here are the steps that need to be taken in order for us to open and to be ready and to think about what social distancing is going to look like. Everything from not just cleaning, but disinfecting. How do we do that with the pews? How do we do that with microphones? All of that. Those are things that we're this close to being on top of. But some of the timing of this could very well be determined by our sanctuary readiness, because Nolan and Chris are doing, again, I don't have another word for it other than heroic efforts around getting the sanctuary and this facility ready technologically for live streaming. When we come back into this facility, we will be able to provide a live stream option for those who aren't ready or who can't come. And that's going to take a little while. I think another piece of this is we're going to have to develop some kind of hygiene team and protocols to ensure that we're safe. There's not going to be offering plates. There's not going to be friendship registers. There's not going to be mailboxes. We're going to have to. There's not going to be paper bulletins. We're not going to be able to do those things, at least initially when we start gathering. So that's just a small glimpse of the kinds of things that the task force is working through. Please know that our team does not see things identically. I've described it as saying, well, there are some people who take a 15-mile approach to regathering churches. There's others who take a 75-mile-an-hour approach to regathering churches. I think, and you can challenge it, Eric, if you want to, I think our team is somewhere between a 35 to 45 mile per hour in our shared voices in terms of how to look at this. So just know that we're being methodical about it. Some of us are impatient about the idea of when can we gather again. So we're taking that seriously. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love for you to connect with the elders if you have questions, if you have concerns. We have wanted to be as open as possible about all the things that we are talking about.
Yeah, we are thinking about not only the measures that need to be put in place, but how they affect what we're able to do here. As far as masks, are we going to be able to sing, the spacing in the sanctuary? So it's going to take a new imagination from not only staff, but everybody, all congregants coming to visit. You need to be prepared for possibly things to not be back to normal, but there's going to be a new normal created, and things may be different.
They will be, and we want to honor those who can't wait to get back here together ASAP, and we want to honor those in our congregation and in our community who are going to need some time. And please know that this team knows and feels the tensions around that. And Eric used the word the other day, or a couple hours ago, it feels like the other day, around, man, it feels like we've got some decision fatigue because we are constantly trying to adjust and adapt to this ever-changing environment, ever-changing guidelines, as well as our own yearning to have a semblance of some normalcy again.
And one thing I bring up occasionally is the process matters, the togetherness matters. A decision will be made, a number of decisions are going to be made. Maybe in the far future, those decisions aren't going to be so important. But I think the process, the love that we show that one another, the ways that we can display patience and unity with one another, those are the things that are really going to matter. So we're trying to work in that kind of fashion that shows the very best of the body of Christ.
I think you say it well, because the deacons tell me that the offerings that we've been receiving around these projects and initiatives are sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7 times as much per week than we would get on a second offering that when the second collection plate was passed. But maybe it's because we are being more focused on saying, here's why the offering is being taken, here's the cause, and here's the need that's been presented to us. You've responded to that. Giving remains good in terms of the church's ministries. So those are the things, I think, in a time like this, that we are letting our attention and our mind go to say, we are this people who generally gathers here on a Sunday is about so much more than a Sunday. In the Reformed tradition, we talk about church and kingdom, and this congregation is showing that it is mobilized around engaging the kingdom, but also being church by trying to stay electronically connected or on the phone or in whatever ways that we're still doing that.
It's understandable that the key question always seems to be, when are we coming back? And we're trying to think about questions beyond that of how are we coming back? In what healthy ways are we coming back, not only physically, but also as a community, showing love and patience for one another in a world of diverse opinions.
Well, and the word has come up around, well, okay, how's your team defining safety? I mean,
Sure.
you could define that in multiple different ways, and we're trying to take seriously all of those different ways. We also are looking at some logistics issues. I mean, we've talked as a team about, so what would it mean if we can't meet inside right now? What would it mean to meet outside for a worship service? Well, we begin to talk about the logistics involved with that, of renting equipment, of getting that all set up. And we know that there would be people who would cover the thousands of dollars of expense with that. And we know that there are people who would find a way to make that happen. But as we talked about it today, it some of that energy, if we poured it into that, may just delay the day that we're coming back and gathering here inside in person. And then we have another voice step in and say, well, yeah, but what are you going to do if it rains that Sunday? Well, then we don't even have an online opportunity, right, because online won't be available outside. So we're maybe giving you more information than you want, or inviting you into the tensions that we are feeling around this. But Eric and I decided today that we wanted to have an unscripted conversation with each other and with you to see where this would go, because we both have a heart and a passion for this church and the team that we're serving on. But just know, as a repeat, that we are hoping to have some recommendations for the elders. And the elders may need a night, they may need a week or two to chew on this. I have no idea, but again, some of the logistics of getting the sanctuary ready and getting this place ready in terms of it being a safe and healthy place, and giving you some guidelines in terms of the decisions you need to make about how and when to come here,
Yep.
how we'll do entry and dismissal and all of it. Those are things we're working on. So just know, nobody is dragging their feet. And the other thing I want to acknowledge as a pastor here is to say, there have been some really important things that have happened in our community together. We had 2 members pass away this week, and I don't want to drive by those things too quickly. Those are important moments in our life together. This is a week where we are saying farewell to a 13-year colleague and friend of mine and a pastor of this church. And these good things that we do together in community life should not be driven by at 75 miles an hour. We want to honor and respect these important milestones together, and continue to hold each other together as ministry is not stopped, as ministry goes on, as we say over and over, the church is open, even if the building is closed.
And as we bring this to a close, I keep thinking about the guiding principle of wisdom. And we're continuing to enter new realities. We're needing to make decisions. We're encountering really landmark events in our congregation. So if you we asked you to pray for our community, our staff, our congregants, and ask for an extra measure of wisdom. Help us to tune our hearts to God's word and God's wishes for us, and just the wisdom of the Holy Spirit wash over us as we move forward.
I think that's well said and a good conclusion. Brothers and sisters, the peace of the risen Christ to you.